Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com and at @U_Capper on Twitter. We got Moneyline Matt and the one and only Joe D'Amico joining me today. We will be breaking down 3 games from today's 7-game slate. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about some of the promos we got going on at SportsMemo.com. It is Monday, January 23rd, so that means it is $9 Monday over at the site. All picks and packages from all of your favorite Sports Memo handicappers, just $9. Picks and packages for college basketball, NHL, NBA, soccer, all that stuff is already up. I think there's even some NFL conference championship games already up as well. So head over to the site. One more thing to talk about as well. Promo code 77 is still available for myself and Moneyline Matt. 7-day all-access pass for $49 from either myself or Matt. You can use it for both of us if you want. Both of us obviously handicap more than just NBA. For instance, I just found out yesterday that I'm currently top college basketball capper over at sportsmemo.com this season. And you can grab all of our plays for the next 7 days at just $7 a day. Make sure to check out the site daily for the promos. Tomorrow, Joe D'Amico will be one of the $2 Tuesday handicappers. He has a play on the conference championship game as well this weekend. All these amazing promos over at sportsmemo.com. Make sure to check out the site on a daily basis. See what we got going on. Also, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple of clicks, and it helps our show grow tremendously. With that said, let us get Moneyline Matt and Joe D'Amico in the panel. How are you guys doing? Man, obviously, it was a great weekend of football, NBA. Everything was going on this weekend. Joe, I know you do everything from football, NFL, college basketball, and all that stuff. How was your weekend?
Great weekend. Swept the board again, going 4-0 on sides in the NFL. I had an issue with the totals. I always talk more about the losses than the wins. Ronald, let me put it this way. I'm sure everybody out there can remember every bad date they ever had, but they don't remember every good date they ever had. So when you win as much as we do here at Sports Memo and Wager Talk, it's the losses that stick in your craw. Another 4-0 with the sides in the divisional round. I had a great weekend with the sides. Lost a big total. I still like the over in that snowstorm because I felt what we talked a little bit about on the First Family Show this morning. Moneyline and Matt and I ranted a little bit about Josh Allen. He should be bagging groceries starting next week at your local AM/PM. Having said that, it was a good weekend. I'm very excited. 7 weeks in the NBA. I'm hitting over 70% the last 7 weeks. Very particular. I'll talk about that a little bit later during my best bet. But I'm excited to start off the 3rd week of the new year with you and Matt. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, always glad to have you on. You bring so much energy to all of our shows over at Sports Memo. Matt, how was your weekend?
So, yeah, Ron, it was a good weekend. It was nice to get some wins on the board and go positive in the NFL. I had the Bengals yesterday. I obviously had the San Francisco 49ers. If you've been watching me, you know I've been riding the 49ers all season long with my Super Bowl pick since day one. But to Joe's point, I think all 3 of us are incredibly transparent cappers. And last week was a bloody week for me in the NBA, probably the worst since I've joined Sports Memo. It's Monday. It's a new week. I'm ready to bounce back. We have a great slate today. And we just got to trust the process and keep rolling with it. And again, that's one thing I love about Sports Memo and Wager Talk. And I think a lot of our viewers appreciate that about us as well. It's that we're very transparent. We win with everyone and we lose with everyone. We are in the trenches with you. I'm just as mad, just as sad when I have a bad week because my money is going out the window. So again, guys, that's why we're always transparent, because I am in the trenches betting with you. It's not like we're giving these picks and not taking them ourselves. And it's a brand new week. We got a good slate today, so let's get it rolling.
Yeah, I had a solid weekend as well. I took yesterday off, no plays or bets yesterday. Sometimes you got to have that data to kind of just refresh your brain and energy and get ready for the following week. But so far this year, I mean, since the start of 2023, been really in a good groove here. I think if I looked at it correctly, I'm actually the top profit capper over at SportsMemo to start the year. So hopefully we just go in that direction. Just keep getting some wins. I know there's days where we get some losses, but overall, I mean, we're playing the long game here. When we bet on sports, you just want to last. Is basically what you want to do and get on the profitable side. So that's pretty much how it's been so far this year, up and down, but then for the most part, more ups than downs. So let's just keep going in that direction. Did you have something to say, Matt?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, what's funny is sometimes we'll do this show and we'll give around 4 to 6 picks on this show and I won't make official plays out of them. And the show will do better than my official plays sometimes. So that's why it's so important to tune in every single show, because even, we're giving out wins on the show and sometimes we don't even put them up as official plays. So, it's always good to give out winners like that. And we just want to keep this rolling. I think we've done a great job on this show. And again, great to have Joe on today. Let's get it bumping.
Yeah, let's get into it. So our first game, Wolves Rockets. These two teams just faced each other on Saturday. Wolves are on a 2-game winning streak, including that game on Saturday, the first of a 2-game road trip following 2 games at home. Rockets are on a 13-game losing streak. They've only covered 1 of those 13 games. This is the first of a 3-game homestand as well. Injury perspective, Cat is out for the Wolves. Last I seen, Gobert, Forbes, and Prince are all questionable. On the Rockets side, Kevin Porter Jr. is out for the Rockets. Matchup-wise, I believe the Wolves have won and covered all 3 matchups so far this season. Last 2 matchups also went under by huge margins here. Matt, let's start with you here. What do you think about this last game of the season between these two teams?
Yeah, so I definitely think it's an interesting matchup. And the Houston Rockets face off against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a back-to-back, like you were saying. And the last matchup was won by the Timberwolves, 113-104. And for the Houston Rockets, this was actually potentially the worst game for Jalen Green of the entire season. He shot absolutely brutal. If you know me, I'm a huge Jalen Green fan. I had people DMing me Jalen Green statistics, telling me how trash he was. He's not trash, all right? He's going to bounce back today. He's going to bounce back against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm actually backing the Minnesota Timberwolves in this spot. And to your point, Ron, the Rockets have lost 13 games in a row, only covering once. But once again, now they're at home. They're actually decent at home. They're 9-10-2 against the spread, while the T-Wolves are 9-13. And if you've watched the Minnesota Timberwolves all season long, you know this is one of those teams that can go out and beat anyone, but they can go out and lose to anyone throughout the entire NBA on top of that. And without Rudy Gobert potentially locking down that middle, I actually think Alperen Sengun is going to have a good day there. He's really been progressing as a young center, a rebounder, a offensive style center. And then again, I do not expect someone like Jalen Green to go out and have a game like that again. I'm sure he's going to come into this game. He's going to be fired up. He's going to be trying to be active pretty early, take some shots. And again, when you lose 13 games in a row, this is the NBA. Every team is talented. You generally don't lose for this many games straight, or at least cover. You know what I mean? Only covering one of the last 13 on top of that. So for me, I know it's tough to do, especially when you look at this Houston Rockets roster. But they do have guys like Jayshawn Tate back. He was out earlier in the year. He's someone who needs to be kind of reinserted back into that lineup, get some chemistry. He's scrappy. He's a good defender. He goes out and gets rebounds. So, again, for me, it's going to be the Houston Rockets here with the +5.5. I don't know if this would be an official play or anything like that. It's kind of tough to make a Houston Rockets an official play. But in all honesty, I would not be shocked at all if the Rockets somehow snuck out a win in this matchup against this Minnesota Timberwolves team. That's just style of basketball this T-Wolves team plays. So for me, it's Rockets +5.5.
Yeah, that's crazy because, obviously you say teams are not going to lose like this like the whole season. So are you going to be stepping in front of this losing streak, Joe, or are you going to be with Matt here, or are you going to take the Wolves here?
Well, I always agree with whatever Matt says because he's such a bright guy and such a great analysts breaking down games. Having said that, let me just first, Ronald, at the beginning of each roundtable game, you usually tell us about injury. Sports fans, a few weeks ago, we were going through a nightmarish run in the college football bowl games because of opt-outs and transfer portals. It was something unlike we've ever experienced before. Currently in the NBA, not currently, since the season began, we are really going through a hard time handicapping games because of all the injuries. Back in the day, a guy would have to literally have a severed leg for him to miss a game. Now guys are taking off for this, that, or the other thing. I read the other day, a guy's going to rest his hamstring. Well, I got to tell you something. I grew up with Larry Bird, who would play with a bad back every game and never missed a minute. It bothers me. So sports fans, listen to Ronald, listen to Moneyline Matt, but do your due diligence. Before you put any of your hard-earned money down on any NBA play, double, triple check your injuries. Anything could change in this business in a moment, let alone hours. Even when we're doing these games, while we're on the air, something could break. Somebody could hit us up in a tweet or in a message, say, hey, this changed. We get it, but please do your due diligence. Having said that, my friends, I'm always a little apprehensive of laying a lot of points on the road in the NBA. This matchup is no different as the Timberwolves travel to Toyota Center to take on the Rockets. As I mentioned, I'm never really crazy about laying more than a basket or two on the road in the NBA, but there is nowhere in this universe or any other universe that would compel me to side with the Rockets here, folks. In all sincerity, I'm not trying to be humorous, witty, or comical. It's just the fact, in my opinion, Houston is just a very bad team. Since mid-December, they've won only 2 games straight up, covering a mere 3 in that time. Christmas is a long time past. It's in the rear view. It's over a month now. It's about a month now. And it wasn't since the day after Christmas that they experienced the taste of a single victory. Wow, that just blows my mind. Matt said something very smart. He says, every team is talented in the NBA, but when you haven't won a game in a month, literally a calendar month, it tells me a lot about the team. These two teams, as you mentioned earlier, just met a few nights ago in Minnesota. The T-Wolves took down the Rockets 113-104. That was the 3rd straight cover for Minnie. Overall, this team has taken 8 of their last 11 contests to leapfrog them from where they were a little bit ago, out of playoff contention, to right now in the 7th overall seed in the Western Conference and technically in a play-in slot. I know Houston has been missing a couple of key players like guard Kevin Porter Jr. I don't see them rushing to get him back in a uniform and back on the floor anytime soon, guys. But, folks, even if he was on the floor for this matchup, despite Minnesota also listing a few guys as questionable themselves here tonight, I just don't see the Rockets contending in this matchup. They give up way too many points. The T-Wolves have covered 6 of the last 7 overall meetings in the series, 4 of the last 5 in Houston. Things are going to go from bad to worse for the Rockets as they have failed to cover 4 in a row, playing on 1 day's rest, 4 of the last 5 at home, and 14 of their last 17 following a straight-up loss. I'm going to agree respectfully to disagree with Moneyline Matt. I like the other side. I like the T-Wolves, guys.
Yeah, so I guess I'm the tiebreaker here. I'm Matt. You're my co-host every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I gotta go with Joe with this one. This season, I mean, this is one thing that I was looking at. This season, there's been a lot of games where two teams play each other 2 games in a row, and I wanted to see how teams do that won the first game in the second game. For the most part, the team that's winning that first game, they're actually winning and covering at a high rate on that second game, 27-14 straight up. 27-13-1 against the spread. If they won the first game, that's how they're doing in the second game. So, and the other part is, if the team was favored in that first game and also favored in the second game, 17-4 straight up, 14-6-1 against the spread in that spot as well. All backing the Wolves here. It really is tough to in my opinion, it's tough to not go against this Rockets team. At some point, the Rockets will be a bet on team. There's going to be a point where the books over adjust the line and all that stuff. But I think in this spot here, the Wolves already taking care of business 3 games out of the 4 matchups this season. I just feel like the Wolves got the Rockets number here. And another thing to mention, Rockets at home as dogs of less than 7 points. They're not covering at a high rate, 3-7-1 against the spread, only scoring 104.1 points per game. And that brings me to another point, a possible look towards the under with the Wolves. They're 6-1 to the under as road favorites, with a total over 225. So these higher totals with faster paced teams or teams that don't play really great defense, they're averaging a combined score of 220 in that spot. So well below the 235 or 234.5, whatever that total is right now. So I would look towards the Wolves and the under. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be betting these, but those would be the only two ways that I look there. I think one thing that one player that Matt mentioned, Şengün, I think he might be the top prop guy to look at in this spot, especially if Gobert is still hobbled. Cat obviously out. He's going to have a lot of room to move and maneuver in the paint. I called him. I don't know, Matt. Maybe you're in agreement with me, but he kind of looks like a little baby Joker with how he's able to facilitate through the post. I think it's a smart move for the Rockets, really running their offense through him in the last few games, and hopefully they continue to do that. Any last comments on this game before we move to the next one?
No, I totally agree with you on that Şengün prop line and everything like that. Maybe a PRA, something along those lines, because that's one thing with this Houston Rockets team is without Kevin Porter Jr., they don't have a true ball handler or someone who is a true point guard, essentially. And even KPJ really isn't exactly a true point guard. But for the Rockets, that's really all they have, though. So now I totally agree. I think they need to play through Şengün, play inside-out style basketball, because he is one of probably their best facilitators at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agree. Let's move on to this next one here, the Hawks and the Bulls. Hawks are coming off an outright loss as 7.5-point faves to the Hornets on Saturday. Prior to that, though, they were on a pretty good streak, 5 wins in a row there. Hawks are playing their first game of a 2-game road trip. The Bulls, they've won 2 straight, including that big win over the Pistons in Paris. I think they won by over double digits. This is the first leg of back-to-back home-to-road games, though. They got the Pacers on deck tomorrow. This seems like a bad travel spot coming from Paris, and then a back-to-back game. It's pretty tough, but from an injury standpoint, Bogdanović is questionable. Javonte Green and Lonzo Ball are out for the Bulls. Dragic is questionable for the Bulls. As far as matchups, they split their two matchups so far this season. Both games were in Atlanta. Both times the Bulls covered, winning the last one outright as 5-point dogs. Now they're favorites here. To me, I don't know how we take it's tough. I mean, I think the Bulls are the better team overall, but this is just a tough travel spot. How do you guys look into this here coming from Paris? There's a 3-day rest period between coming from Paris, and we don't know if they stayed an extra day to hang out with their family, or because you're in Paris, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna stay there for one day and then leave. Joe, what do you think about this one?
Well, Ronald, you made a couple of really good points. I'm going to touch on a few of those. My friends, I get up very early in the morning. As a matter of fact, I get up while farmers and meth cooks are still fast asleep in their beds. That's how early I get up. And I can tell you that the early money came in on Chicago Bulls here. And why not? Guys, on paper, Ronald mentioned the Bulls are the smarter play. But I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Pro basketball is not played on paper. It's played on the hardwood. This is Chicago's first game since the January 19 contest in which they won and covered 126-108 over a very poor Detroit opponent. That game, as Ronald mentioned, was played in Paris, France. I do expect this team to have a little bit of jet lag here, guys. Now, as of this morning, Bogdanović, Ronald mentioned as well, is listed as questionable. Many of you know he missed the last game due to a knee issue. Rumor has it he's going to shoot up and play here, but that is just a rumor prior to this show beginning. Once again, always do your due diligence, guys. Always do your due diligence, folks, and check injuries prior to putting in any wagers, particularly in the NBA, where we all know anything could happen on any given day. Having said all that, traditionally, I look to fade the Hawks on the road. Well, they've covered 3 of the last 4 away from home coming into this matchup. Not only that, but they've been money overall. They're getting hot for us bettors, covering 4 of their last 5. Their last game, a Saturday night loss at home, 122-118 at the hands of the Hornets, tells me this team is going to bounce back very strongly here, gentlemen. Yeah, they usually do after a tough loss. I looked at their record this season and going back to last season, because I really wanted to talk a lot about in detail about this game. And I will tell you, after a tough loss, this team is very good in bounce back mode, especially against the number. Guys, having said all that, they've taken 2 of the last 3 meetings with the Bulls straight up. Looking at the 2 most recent meetings, both of December, Atlanta took a 1-point overtime victory at home and then a 2-point loss 10 days later, also at home. These squads play one another very tough, guys. I expect a very physical game. which does benefit both because they both rank in the top 5 in the NBA in free throw percentage. I put a lot of stock in free throw percentage, especially in the Eastern Conference where you see a lot more physical play. My friends, I do think there is a big mismatch here which will benefit the Hawks, and that's in fact as they counter Chicago's very good three-point shooting offense with the 4th-ranked three-point defense in the league. The Bulls, my friends, they heavily rely on shooting from beyond the arc and scoring from beyond the arc. Playing this defense is going to negate a lot of their scoring. I'm going to tell you right now. As I mentioned at the beginning of the breakdown, I feel Chicago is going to be a little fatigued, a little jet lagged. By the way, Atlanta, pretty good playing off 1 day's rest, covering 4 of the last 5 in that situation. I'm going to go against the grain. Early money came in Chicago. I'm taking the Hawks here, sports fans.
That's a good point. That's a good point there. It's tough. I mean, this is a bad travel spot for the Hawks and fatigue spot as well. They played a lot of games in the last week or so, while the Bulls only played 2 in the last like 4 days or 5 days or whatever. But I think, I mean, coming from Paris, it just seems like it's so tough to be ready to play in a short span of time. What do you think about this, Matt?
Yeah, this is a spot where I'm 100% with Joe here. I'm with the Hawks +1. And, a lot of it does have to do with that travel spot. But, if you've been paying attention to this show, you guys know I like the look of the Atlanta Hawks. I've been saying that this is going to be a bet on team at some point, and I think we've reached that point. I also like this team to eventually overtake the Miami Heat and win this division. I personally think this is a very talented team. They just needed some time to get that chemistry, synergy going. You essentially have 2 point guards on one team, and they're very different players. So it's taken some time to get together. And, this is an Atlanta Hawks team that has won 5 games in a row until recently losing to the Charlotte Hornets. And now they're looking to bounce back against the Chicago Bulls, who have won 2 games in a row, but again, are in a very, very weird travel spot. They had 2 road games, 2 home games, 1 road game in Paris, and now they're back. And again, that just seems like a lot of traveling, a lot to ask of a Chicago Bulls team. And on top of it, I don't think this Bulls team matches up very well against this Atlanta Hawks team. And a lot of it comes down to the length of the Atlanta Hawks. And you guys heard me talk about this last episode when they faced the New York Knicks. The reason that I was on the Hawks in that game was because Mitchell Robinson was out and there was nothing in that middle to stop guys like John Collins or Clint Capella. Now this is a team that has Nikola Vucevic. And Vucevic locking down that middle, he doesn't play very, very much defense at all. If anything, he's an okay rebounder and stuff like that, but he does not protect that paint and he does not protect that rim whatsoever. And this is one of those games where I see guys like Clint Capella getting offensive rebounds, putbacks, maybe some John Collins alley-oops on top of that. So for me, I really do like the look of the Atlanta Hawks here. I think DeJounte Murray is starting to play very good basketball. And another thing with DeJounte Murray, and to Joe's point, this Hawks team is very good at defending the three-point line. And that's because you have players like DeJounte Murray, who's very good at on-ball defense. He's very good at getting up in your face, shot contesting. Then you also have someone like DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter, a very long, lengthy defender, someone who can guard DeMar DeRozan and probably make things tougher on him. And then, of course, you have John Collins as well. So this is just an Atlanta Hawks team where outside of Trae Young, they're very, very long. They're solid at rebounding. They're solid at defense. And I think that's how they beat the Chicago Bulls tonight. I think they beat them on the boards. I think they crash the glass. And I think they get more second chance points than that of the Chicago Bulls. So that's why I'm going with the Atlanta Hawks tonight.
I like it. So Joe and Matt in agreement there. One thing that I looked at on the Hawks side here is that this is actually a bad travel spot where they don't perform well. Playing on the road following a home game, they're only 3-8 straight up, 1-10 against the spread. But I think Joe is right. I think there's a point here. Joe and Matt is right that they're gonna be a bet on team. And right now they've been on a good streak as road dogs. They beat outright the Kings, Clippers, Raptors, and Mavs in that spot, the last 4 situations as road dogs. So this might be that situation where they could take advantage of the tough travel spot for the Bulls. I will have the total as my best bet, so I'll get into that later on in the show. But for now, I would agree with Matt and Joe here. I think the Hawks might be the side. Let's move on to the next one here, the Grizzlies and the Kings. I know when we see the Kings, Matt is probably licking his lips on some player props here. But this is going to be a fast-paced game, in my opinion. It looks like it. But Grizzlies, I mean, they've been a really great defensive team, so it's kind of a push and pull here. Grizzlies on a 2-game losing streak after last night outright loss to the Suns. This is the third of a 5-game road trip, also second leg of back-to-back games, so some fatigue there on that side. Kings coming off a 2-point loss to the Sixers, who were without Harden and Embiid, so they might want to get right and bounce back in this game here. Third game of a 4-game homestand as well. They haven't had to travel for a few days. From an injury perspective, Danny Green is the only person out for the Grizzlies. Metu is questionable for the Kings. He's not going to affect the outcome at all in this one. Grizzlies lead the season matchup 2-1. All 3 games went under as well, but this is the highest total of all of the games so far this season. There's a couple of things that I want to ask you guys. First is, we looked at the Kings here. I mean, not the Kings. The line here seems to be a lot shorter than what I was going to expect it to be with the Grizzlies here. They were just road favorites against the Lakers, right? They were favored by 7. They were favored to the Suns by 8.5. Now they're only favored to the Kings by a point. Are the Kings that much better than the Suns and Lakers? Or are the books expecting someone to sit? Or is the travel and the rest disadvantage baked into the line today? Because I did not expect a -1 here. I thought it would have been a little bit more. Joe, what are your thoughts on it? To me, I think you're one of the more experienced handicappers in looking at games in this way. So I wanted to get your take on it.
Well, Ronald, thank you for all your love and support and always your kind words. It's always appreciated. Well, I will tell you this, and I worked in this industry in many different areas of this industry. I worked in sports books. I worked for the original line makers here in Las Vegas. And a lot of making a line doesn't have to be with making a sharp line. It has to be what you anticipate the general public is going to react to an opening line. And that's what odds makers do a lot. Is this team that much better than the Suns or this team or that team? I think every matchup is different. You have to treat every matchup, no matter how good or bad a team is or how good or bad they've been doing, like a newborn baby. You can't treat a baby the way you would a 10-year-old or the way you would a teenager or the way you would an adult child. You got to treat them all a little bit differently because they're a living, breathing thing. Sports betting is. Having said that, I think that the line is right where it should be because they have to anticipate what the general public's going to do. Understand that sports books and bookmakers, I'll just say bookmakers, they don't care who wins or who loses as long as they adjust their line. They have to anticipate who is going to bet what, adjust their line from there, and they'll keep their juice. That's what it comes down to. I think the line is basically where it should be to make it the right number. So it's a little attractive to both sides. Anybody that wants to bet on the Grizzlies or the Kings. When we get into my breakdown of this game, I could go a little bit further into it, but that's really my take on the lines of the games. I had this line. I had it a little bit differently as well, Ronald, but you got to always anticipate that the sports books always want to know where the general public is going to react when they put out an opening line so they don't get clobbered on one side and they take a loss. It's always about the number, guys. Ronald, I think your mic is muted.
That's the reason why. That's the reason why I wanted to go to you, Joe, because of your experience over with the books, working with the books, and just the overall knowledge of the game. I think you bring so much to the table when you come onto the show, and I love asking questions like that to you because that's some of the information you won't get on any other shows. Like, who else is going to be able to have that type of experience? So I think that's a great answer. It's always tough when your line is so much off than what the odds makers has because you start to question things. But go ahead and get into your breakdown, Joe. What do you think about this game?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Ronald, because I really do like this game. Guys, coming off, as Ronald mentioned earlier, a very draining, both mentally and physically, a draining 2-point loss in Phoenix the other night is going to prove fatal for Memphis here tonight. The Grizzlies were down 62-35 at the half last night when then outplayed the Suns, only to fall short by just 2 points, 112-110. This team is going to come in here tired, fatigued, and also mentally exhausted. Making them a favorite on the road, I feel, is a mistake. Sacramento enters this matchup following their 129-127 loss at home at the hands of Philly, which did snap their 6 games straight up and against the spread hot streak. Now, at the very worst, depending on when you did play the game, They were either on a 6-game hot streak against the number or went 5-0-1, depending on when you played that game yesterday. But let me keep going. A few days ago, but let me keep going. I know overall the Grizzlies have dominated the Kings, but I just like the situation here for the home team Sacto. I really do. Their offense is clicking on all cylinders. Guys, they top the NBA in scoring, averaging over 120 points per game. I know the defense, to say the least, leaves a lot to be desired, and they will give up points to the 5th-ranked scoring offense of Memphis. But a lot of the Grizzlies' success on the scoreboard comes from what? Their ability to rebound. They own the top 5 offensive rebounding core, but the Kings are pretty darn good on the defensive board, so I think that's going to slow them down a bit. And I think it's going to be a problem for them tonight, Ronald. I like Sacramento bouncing back at home over a visiting mentally and physically drained Memphis team. I'm going to take the Kings here, and if you do too, you're going to be treated like royalty. I promise you that. I like them. I think the line is a little bit off. I really do. But to answer your original question also, Ronald, playing in the middle of this road trip, that draining loss last night. And, a lot of teams better than the Grizzlies would take them a few days to get back on track, to not just get their legs come the second half of a matchup, but get it back here mentally. That was a tough loss for them, Ronald. And guys, even pro teams are not above taking one on the chin after a big mental beating like I think they took last night.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think about that, Matt? I mean, obviously the second of back-to-back, they lost to a Suns team that they probably thought they were going to win pretty easily, and they just got kind of surprised there towards the end of the game. But, what do you think about this game here?
Yeah, and in all honesty, I'm with Joe again. I'm actually with the Sacramento Kings here, and I think it's one of those spots where it's somewhat tough to take the Sacramento Kings because when you look at it on paper, these are two teams who are very fast in pace. The Kings are 5th in pace and the Grizzlies are 6th in pace. And on top of that, the Memphis Grizzlies are the top defending team throughout the entire NBA. But a lot of this does come down to the travel. A lot of this does come down to the past games. They went into overtime with the Los Angeles Lakers. Or no, that wasn't overtime. They lost at the last second against the Los Angeles Lakers, giving up a significant lead in the last minute. Then they lose to the Phoenix Suns again on the road, and they're in a back-to-back. And then on top of that, they play the Golden State Warriors on Wednesday, who we know how the Memphis Grizzlies like to play the Golden State Warriors. That's a game where they always get up for somewhat of a rivalry, between Steph and Ja, kind of all over the place. And that could be somewhat of a look-ahead spot on top of that. And then also when I look at this line, like kind of what you guys brought up earlier, this line kind of stinks to me. This line wants people to take the Memphis Grizzlies, essentially. So for me, I'm actually going the opposite way, and I'm going the Sacramento Kings here. This Kings team has proven that they can play with any team throughout the entire NBA, and stylistically, these are two very similar teams. And, Domantas Sabonis is back, locked in on that lineup. He's facilitating all over the court. They have shooters from the outside, and guys like Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, Harrison Barnes is playing very good basketball. So for me, once again, I'm with Joe, and a lot of this does come down to that travel spot. My best bet is also from this game, so I don't want to get into it too much. But if I were to go one side here, I would also be with the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I think I'll be with you guys on this one. As far as the side here, originally I was looking towards the Grizzlies, but you guys make a lot of good points. I don't think this is a game that I'll be betting on the side, but as far as leaning towards, you guys really convinced me to look towards the Kings side. For me, I think the total here might be a little bit too high. 246 is one of the highest totals we've seen so far in the league this season. I know these two are two top high-paced teams in the league, but the Grizzlies, I feel like, are a very defensive-minded team. To me, I think one way that I've seen was looking at it, obviously the pace here is going to be high. The defense is going to be strong on the Grizzlies side, coming back off of that poor performance yesterday. I do lean towards the under just because to me, if we look at their defense and the fast breaks, being able to stop the transition, I think that's going to be where the key is going to be for the Grizzlies. Other than the side there, I just don't know where to go for the most part. But Kings would be the lean, and the under here, I think anything greater than 240. The Grizzlies are only 2-1 to the under here. So for the most part, I think it's just too high for the total. I wouldn't be able to go on the over on this one. For the best bet section here, let's start with Joe. Joe, let's get your best bet going. And what do you got going on the premium side?
Well, Ronald, once again, I want to thank you for having me. At the beginning of the week, I'm not an easy pill to swallow after you're well rested, but I'm very excited about everything going on that I have at SportsMemo. Documented 7-2 in premium releases with my NFL sides the last few weeks, as you mentioned earlier, and thank you for promoting our $2 Tuesday situation. I'm a $2 Tuesday featured capper this week. I will continue my domination of the NFL postseason, release a big game in one of the conference championships on the sides. That's all I'm saying as of right now. So be sure to take advantage of that for just $2. I do recommend, I want to toot some other horns here. You got to pay extra for that here in Vegas. My good friends, Ross Benjamin and Kevin Thomas, will both be $2 Tuesday featured cappers over at SportsMemo as well. You get any one of our any one of our big plays for $2, or all three of us. It's really the deal of the century for just $5. That's where to go. For tonight, I have the biggest matchup on the college hoops board in the Big 12 action. Kansas Baylor winner. I've got that posted for just $7 to start your week off over at SportsMemo. Now, guys, I will let you know this. Being particular has once again paid off for me in the NBA. The last 7 weeks in the NBA, my premium releases are over 70%. Guys, I'm going to give you some great advice. You got to be more particular when picking games you put your hard-earned money on than picking a spouse. Let me tell you why. You can always run to Vegas and quickie annulment, but you can't undo a loss and get your money back. So I'm very particular. Now, for any cappers or people out there that like to bet a lot of games in a day and you make money, more power to you. Me, less is more. I'd rather have one wife like Heidi Klum than 100 that look like Rosie O'Donnell. So I'd rather go 1-0 or 2-1 than go 0 than pick up a unit 2 and have 13 or 15 games. For me, I like the less than he's laughing. My buddy Matt is laughing at me in the back room. Guys, I got to tell you, but I've got a great thing going on over at SportsMemo. I'm contributing to several sports. You guys know my wife, the First Lady of Las Vegas. She's contributing to 4 sports right now on 4 sport leaderboards. We each have a 7-day all-access pass. Joe or Dion D'Amico, just $59. Use code PASS7. I will tell you this. I am going to light it up again this week. And that $2 Tuesday play is very strong. Guys, the lines in the NFL Conference Championships have settled. So that game will be up by tomorrow morning. Having said that, my best bet, Ronald, Matt, sports fans, I am excited, so excited. You're not going to need a Viagra tonight. I promise you that. Guys, I'm not looking to take away anything from the Boston Celtics. You can't deny the fact that they own the best overall record in the NBA right now. 35-12 is very impressive. And folks, they're just as strong on the road as they are at home. But I will tell you this. Sports betting, not a popularity contest. It's not about who wins. It's about who covers. Having said that, guys, the Celtics have absolutely crushed bettors, covering just 8 of their last 21 outings. To make matters worse, this is a team that has had trouble with the Orlando Magic recently. Put a pin in that, folks. We're going to come back around to Orlando. Let's face it. They're bottom of the barrel in the NBA. Just 17-29. And to be honest with you, the rest of their season doesn't look too bright. As a matter of fact, guys, it's downright ugly. I'll tell you that. Speaking about Rosie O'Donnell. All right. But, and you all know how much I like a very big but. Since the first week of December, this team has gotten anyone who bets on them. You know what they've gotten? They've gotten them paid. They've covered 16 of the last 22. This does include 8 of their last 11 at the Amway Center. If you look at this rivalry, these two teams have met 3 times this season, all between October and December, with the Magic covering all 3 meetings, taking the last 2 where? Straight up. They've been a thorn in the side of the Celtics. Now, I know Boston has been a little banged up lately, and they should see the return of a couple of key players here. By the way, folks, always do your due diligence. I'm going to say it again. Check the status of these injured players, particularly in the NBA, where from one moment to another, you never know who's going to suit up, who's going to play, and who's not. Having said that, back to the free play breakdown. I just don't see this team laying this much wood against a very game opponent, which has had their way with them recently. You know, just looking at the schedule over the next few games, guys, Boston has to play Miami, which leads the Southeast, their hated rival, New York, and then LeBron in L.A. For all the reasons I just mentioned already, I like the home dog here, but you may also see the Celtics get caught looking ahead a little bit in this game, and they might take it a little lightly as well. By the way, guys, one more item. Orlando has covered 4 of the last 5 following a straight-up loss. Take the points with the Magic and make your bookies' money disappear.
All right, Joe, look at that, man. So much energy in that breakdown. I hope you guys' speakers didn't break. But I think one thing, Joe, I was actually on those 2 games where Orlando beat the Celtics back-to-back games. So I like this look a lot. Actually, was gonna be my best bet before you took it. So I'm definitely in agreement there. Matt, what's up with you? What's your best bet for today's show? And also, what do you got going on the premium side?
Yeah, so for the premium side, I have not loaded anything just yet, but right after this show, I will definitely get all of my NBA plays loaded. And you already know I'm going to be playing both the conference championship NFL games. So we'll get those loaded as it comes closer to the weekend, and we'll definitely have the NBA plays loaded tonight. So head over to SportsMemo. Big bounce back week about to happen. And tonight's best bet. All right, right now we are 14-5 over our last 19 best bets. We need one more to make it 75% over our last 20. And the guy to get it done for us is going to be Ja Morant over 36.5 points plus assists. Because you guys know, Ron even said it. I'm always licking my lips when I see the Kings, Grizzlies matchup, any of those fast-paced, high total spots. Goes back to my old DFS days. But Ja Morant going on the road here. This is a 246.5 total. Again, Grizzlies run the 5th highest pace throughout the NBA, and the Kings run the 6th. But the only thing, the difference between these two teams is the Kings have the 25th rated defense throughout the entire NBA, and I think this makes for a great spot for Ja Morant to get right and hit this over here. In addition to that, over the last 3 games, Ja Morant has missed his point prop at 27.5 or 28.5, a very rare thing for him to do. This Grizzlies team has lost 2 games in a row on top of that by a total of 3 points. And when stuff like that happens, again, you guys have heard me talk about this, you look to the team leader. That is Ja Morant. Ja Morant loves playing the Sacramento Kings on top of that. His last 3 games against the King, he had 22 points and 6 assists. That's a miss, obviously. But then his last 2, 34 points and 6 assists, 35 points and 5 assists. This is what I expect from Ja Morant tonight. Ja Morant has failed to hit 30 points in 5 straight games, tying his longest stretch of the season. Last time he missed 5 straight games of 30 points, he smashed going out for 35 plus. I think the same thing happens today. It's very rare for Ja not to go off within 6 games. And now tonight, he faces a Sacramento Kings team who is very weak on the interior. Domantas Sabonis, a very nice player, very nice on the offensive end. They run everything through him, nice facilitator, rebounder, but not the best at protecting the rim. And no one attacks the rim better than Ja Morant. No one has better control in the air after taking contact. So I think Ja Morant is in the perfect situation today to get right, go over 30 points. If he gets over 30 points, then he hits this no problem whatsoever. I also think he looks to his guys like Desmond Bane on the outside. Obviously, he's playing great basketball. Jaren Jackson cutting to the basket, or even Steven Adams down low. There is a huge height mismatch down low with Steven Adams on top of that. So for today, I am rolling with Ja Morant over 36.5 points plus assists. I think he goes off tonight and has 30 plus points.
I like it. I mean, Ja Morant is one of my favorite players in the league, so I would love to see him have a good game today. With that said, my best bet for the show, I'm going to make it short and sweet, something that Joe always says on his shows. Keep it short and sweet, just like me. The Hawks and the Bulls is one game that we talked about earlier. I do like the over in this one, primarily just the travel spot and fatigue spot for both sides, actually. This travel spot is a spot that the Hawks don't perform well in. Playing on the road, following a home game. I talked about how they do as far as against the spread, 1-10 against the spread in that spot, but they're allowing over 120 points per game in that spot. And if you include that they're coming off 2 straight home games and then going on the road, they're averaging, they're allowing over 123 points per game in that spot. And this is, like I mentioned, a tough spot for the Bulls as well, coming back from Paris, then straight into back-to-back games. This is going to be a spot where I feel like they're really not going to have any focus on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to play fast-paced because the Hawks are going to push it. And their defense is going to struggle here because they won't have the legs to be able to play defense. They're going to have to save their energy and their legs to play offense. I would lean towards, like I said, with the Hawks, with the guys here, but more so to the over. The Bulls are 3-1 to the over this season as home favorites with a total over 230. So I'm not scared about this being a high total. In those games, they're averaging a combined score of 243 points per game. None of those games had OT. So these were all in regulation to be able to score that much. I think this is going to be a fast-paced game. Not a lot of defense played on either side. So for me, I would look towards the over. I think they do reach that 242 to 243 point mark. That's the way that I go as far as the best bet. I do have a college play up on the site right now. It is from the Baylor game. And that's going to be it for college basketball. As far as the NBA, I haven't posted anything yet. One thing that Joe mentioned earlier is the injury report and the status of all these players kind of being I think it's better to take them later so far in the NBA season, especially this late in the season and a whole bunch of teams in bad travel spots. We don't know who's sitting and who's not. So I'm waiting for status reports before I start playing my NBA bets today. With that said, obviously Monday, I said earlier, Monday is $9 Monday over on the site, sportsmemo.com. Make sure you head over there. We also have that 7 promo code for myself and Moneyline Matt 7-day all access package for just $49. And obviously head back over to sportsmemo.com for tomorrow, $2 Tuesday, where you can get Joe's top college NFL conference championship game for this weekend. With that said, guys, next show is on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the same channel here. Good luck with all your action till then. Peace.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at wagertalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.